Hey you guys, so tonight I wanted to talk to you about how to prevent behavioral problems with your teens. I have 8 tips of things that I wanted to share with you. So for those of you that are new, my name is Sally Harris and I help desperate moms of defiant adult children. I help the moms regain their own life by creating a plan with strategies and techniques to help them, like I said, regain their own life on this journey. Because when our kids go astray, it's super easy for the mom to do the same. And that's something that I did for 10 years. And so I'm using everything that I've learned to help moms not take such a dark path like I did. So I will put a link to my discovery call below. And if you are struggling with your adult child, I would love to talk to you. So preventing future problems, future behavioral problems with your teen. Now with these teens, I'm talking more, in this case, more about the 16, 17-year-old. They're not quite an adult, but almost, but they're still living under your roof. So we all, if you have if you have a teenager, you definitely have dealt with some of this stuff. These are some things that I think work well. Number one is to avoid power struggles. It's very hard when your teenager goes off on you and saying that this isn't fair, that isn't fair, I hate you, I'll do it later, whatever the case may be. It's real easy to get caught up in that power struggle and and you end up in an argument. And that's a total waste of time. It's not good for them, it's not good for you. So resist that and set limits and follow through with any consequences to so you can avoid those power struggles. Number 2 is make your expectations clear of what you expect from them. So if you're letting them stay overnight somewhere, or you're dropping them off somewhere, or regardless of what the situation is, but you have an expectation of maybe what time they have to be home in the morning, or what time the curfew is. Like, these are the expectations of what you expect from them. And also, I've mentioned before, make sure, obviously it's up to you, but I feel very strongly about it because I think you need to always be a soft place for them to fall. So maybe they're, maybe they're in a situation with friends where they actually want out of the situation and they don't know how to get out of it. I always told my kids they could use me as a scapegoat, because you want them to be able to come home even though maybe they didn't feel cool, or they wanted to leave the situation they were in. Always give them that out. Number 3 is let them earn privileges. I think it needs to be very clear that privileges are earned versus just given. Like, just because there's a new iPhone doesn't mean they get one. Just because they want something doesn't mean they get it. So it has to be earned, because we need to show them what real life is like. And so if we're just handing them every new thing to make them quote unquote happy, you're wasting your money. Next is, some people go this far, and depending on how much struggle you're having, if you're not having a lot of struggle, this probably isn't necessary. But if you are with a teenager, I always talk about a boundaries plan with our adult children. It's really no different. It's more like a behavioral contract for kids that are still at home for teenagers. But like giving them, for example, like give them a new privilege, like you bought them a new phone, or you gave them a later curfew. You can review the rules, outline consequences, like this is what's going to happen if you don't do this. If you break your curfew, this is the consequence. Have that all in writing and have them sign it, because then it's literally, instead of you just saying, oh yeah, your curfew is 11 o'clock. Oh, well, I want it to be 11:30. And you're like, no, you have to be home at 11. And then later on they say, well, I thought I heard you say 11:30. They're always going to do that, right? So just having everything written down, making it clear and concise, short and sweet, doesn't have to be a book, what the expectations are. If you don't do it, this is the consequence. Just cut and dry. They can't say they didn't see it because they signed it. The next one is be a good role model. I mean, obviously that goes without saying, but a big one with that is don't be afraid to apologize, because we as parents make mistakes all the time. But I think some parents are too afraid or too proud to actually say they're sorry to their kid. Like, almost like they're above the humanity, And I think it's important that you do apologize, because your kid needs to hear that. So if you want them to apologize and you want them to grow up to be someone who doesn't think they're above anything, like you need to be humble towards them too. Next one is spend quality time together. Quality time, your kid is going to open up to you more if you're spending quality time with them versus just watching, maybe go do something into their world. Maybe they play video games and you're not interested in it at all, but maybe just go into their world a little bit. Or maybe they're reading a book and ask them what it's about and actually genuinely show interest. The next one is expect them to be responsible. We're raising adults, we're not raising children. So they will likely live up to our expectations as long as they're reasonable. That I believe that to be true most of the time. That's not going to be a one size fits all. So don't think that you're a bad parent if this doesn't work for you. But you can make it clear that you expect them to do good in school. You expect them to get their homework done. You expect them to get their chores done. So there's nothing wrong with expectation. The next one, the last one is don't reserve discipline for serious violations. So maybe if something massively happens and that's the only time you discipline them, then that's probably not enough. Like let's say they're sitting around in their room and they're playing video games all day and they're not participating, they're not doing chores, all of that kind of stuff. There's nothing wrong with, disciplining them in some way, taking something away, sit down, try to talk to them about it. But at the end of the day, you're the parent and you have to make that decision. But we've talked about this before, like what do you take away from them? Well, you're going to take away probably the electronics if we're talking about a teenager. Nowadays, they're able to just get on a computer and do the same thing probably. So it's amazing. They're way ahead of us when it comes to that. But don't save discipline for just the serious big things. Just the little things. We just want them to kind of stay in line with, this is the consequence. If you don't do something, this is the consequence, etc. So I hope that helps. Teenagers are a challenge. Not gonna lie. So I'd be curious to hear if any of you that watch it, if I would love to hear like some of the things that you're struggling with your teenager. What are they doing? What are they not doing? What do you have a hard time getting them to do? Are electronics a big deal? Like, are they glued to their phones or is it pretty manageable? I'd be curious to hear. So again, I'll put that link to my discovery call below and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.